Last sections were clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So today we'll start with the next remedy that we have. So only two remedies are remaining, chapter 4 and 5. Then we will look at some questions and this part would be over. Specific relief. So next type of relief that we have is declaratory decree. Only two sections are there, sections 34 and section 35. So what are declaratory decrees? Again, whatever relief we have seen under Specific Relief Act, those are like on the discretion of court. If the court feels that this particular relief should be granted, then only they would provide. It's not like compulsory. If a person is asking for a certain relief, it should be provided only. So same is the case with declaratory decrees also. If court feels it is necessary or it is making sense to like issue a declaration, then only court would provide. So what are declaratory decrees? Basically, court would make a declaration regarding a certain type of legal character or a certain right that a person is having. So section 34 is regarding discretion of court as to declaration of status or right. Status as in a person is son or daughter of a certain person. Status may be regarding that this person was born on this particular year, in this particular year. This person is a resident of this particular area, this particular state. This person belongs to these castes. So all of those are what? Those would be status regarding a person. Rights would be that this particular person is the owner of this property that is there, or this person is having the right to inherit this property because he is son or daughter of so and so person. So in declaratory decrees, basically court would make a declaration that this person is having this particular right or a certain type of a character or a status that this person is having. Regarding that, court would pass this order. So this is again based on discretion of court only. It is section 34 that is talking about this. So case for declaratory decrees, when it would be filed? It will be filed in two cases. When a person wants to establish his legal character, which has been denied, or someone is willing to deny it, or in order to establish his legal right, which someone is denying or someone is willing to deny. So any person who is entitled to a certain legal character, that I'm entitled to perform a contract because I am the son or daughter of so and so person, but someone else is not allowing me to perform that contract. They are denying my legal character. So in that case, I can go to the court asking for a declaration that I have this right that I can enforce or I can continue with this particular contract. It may be regarding any other right to property or anything. If a person is owner of a certain land, he wants to sell that particular property or start some construction, someone else is not allowing him to do that, then he can file a case for declaratory decrees, where court would say that this person is the rightful owner of this property and he is having a right to enjoy this property or any other things like that. For example,
Does legal character and right mean the same thing?
Right as in you have a right over a property. Legal character as in you are daughter of someone, so you have some rights. Or because you were born on this particular year, you are entitled to something. You are resident of Karnataka, so you are entitled to something. So character would be because of your position, you are entitled to something. Right as in because you are owner, you have a right to enjoy this property, sell this property, do construction or other things.
Okay.
For example, A is an author and he wrote a book. For example, A is an author, he wrote something. Okay, for example, he is a singer. A is a singer and he has copyright on a song. Got copyright. Now copyright would be valid for more than 60 years, right? So after the person died, his son or his daughter are entitled to get the benefits out of it. But whoever got copyright, they are denying that you are son or daughter of so and so person, so you are entitled to the benefits.
This is a general question, but isn't the copyright after 6 years handed over to the government?
No, they can again renew it after 60 years also. There is a time limit fixed. If it is not renewed within that time frame, then only it would be handed over to government. So if, for example, the person is, like others are denying that you are having this particular right because you are not son or daughter of this singer, so we can go to the court asking for a declaratory decree that I am the, son or daughter of this person, so I am entitled to it. If, for example, A is owner of a land and he wants to donate that particular land to some school, but what happened is that someone else was residing there under a lease agreement. So that person is denying that you do not have a right to donate this particular land to a school because you are not the, like ultimate owner. You are a joint owner, or maybe your right is not absolute. So in that case also, A can go to the court asking for a declaratory decree that I am only the right owner of this property and I have a right to take any decision regarding this particular property. So regarding any matter where someone is denying or someone is willing to deny someone's right or any legal character, then in that case, person can go to the court asking for declaratory decree, and it is always discretion of the court. But what happens is the court may in its discretion provide declaratory decree to the plaintiff, but provided that no court shall make any such declaration where plaintiff being able to seek further relief than a mere declaration of title omits to do so. For example, one person is entitled to ask for some other relief also. He is owner of a land. There was a lease agreement with B for 5 years. So after 5 years, what happens is that agreement was over. Agreement is over after 5 years, but B is not willing to vacate that particular plot. In that case, what happens is that A has a right that he can go to the court, file a case that I am the owner of this property. This agreement is over, so B should vacate that plot of land and he should hand over the property to me. He has this particular right, but what he rather does is that he goes to court asking for a declaratory decree. So what court would say is that you have some other rights also. You can ask that this person, should vacate this property, hand over possession to you, but you are not doing that. So mere declaration is not needed because you have some other rights also. So what court would do is that court would not provide declaratory decree in such cases because again there would be multiple cases for the same matter. Today court would grant declaratory decree, tomorrow again the person would come that he is still not vacating the plot, so you should ask that person to vacate the plot or something like that. So only in cases where it is other reliefs are not available or something like that, only declaration is sufficient, only in such cases it may be granted. For example, a person wants to avail some benefits that he was born on this particular year or in this particular state, so he would get certain benefits. So he just wants a declaration from the court that he was residing in this particular state for last 15 years, so he is entitled to it. So accordingly, in such cases, the declaratory decree may be given, but not like in any other case where we are having some other or better relief. In such cases, court would not provide declaratory decree because there are chances that again tomorrow the person would come and ask for the other reliefs that he is having. So it is discretion of court first of all, and secondly, only when that declaration is sufficient and we are not having any other rights, there only court would provide for declaratory decree. And it is like two conditions: legal character is denied or someone is willing to deny, legal right is denied or someone is willing to deny. In such cases, a case can be filed for declaratory decree. Accordingly, based on discretion of court, it may be granted to the person. 34, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Next is regarding effect of declaration. So a person goes to court, files the case, but what would be the effect of declaration? Who all would be, like we will have to follow that particular order. So a declaration made under this chapter is binding on whom? On parties to the suit only. If there were 2-3 persons who were denying existence of this legal right, on those 2-3 persons it would be applicable. If some representatives or someone is there, to those persons it would be applicable. If some trustees or other persons are there, those persons it would be applicable. That means basically the parties only to whom it would be applicable, and apart from parties, if there are someone who is like directly connected to the matter with the party, then to them it would be applicable under this particular case. So it is declaratory decrees 34 and 35. It is discretion of court only. It can be filed when there is a denial regarding legal character or legal right, and it would not be granted when there are some other or better reliefs available to the person. So court would rather direct the person that you can ask for maybe specific performance of the contract or other things like that, rather than only asking for a declaratory decree. This is the specific relief that we have under chapter 6, declaratory decrees. Is this part clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So next is injunction. Next part is injunction. It is part 3. So there were 3 parts under Specific Relief Act, right? First was like the basic preliminary part. Second was regarding all the other types of reliefs that we got. And third one is the preventive relief. This is the third part under Relief Act. This was specific relief and this is preventive relief under part 3, sections 36 to section 42. So what is preventive relief? It is to prevent someone from doing any specific act that he is legally not authorized to do. For example, someone is doing construction without following the guidelines that they should follow based on government regulations, then we can have a preventive relief in order to stop that person from doing something which he is legally not authorized to do. So we are preventing the person from doing something or from not doing something. So it is chapter 7 that is talking about injunctions generally. Section 36 is preventive relief, how granted. Preventive relief is granted at the, again it is also discretion of court only, by injunction, temporary or perpetual. So preventive relief would be granted by way of injunction. Again, injunction would be discretion of court only. So if court feels that injunction is proper in this particular situation, then court can accordingly grant injunction, asking a person to do something or not to do something, and accordingly relief would be provided. Injunction is needed in some cases where monetary compensation may not be enough to serve justice, or injunction is an order or decree by which the party to an action is required to do or refrain from doing any particular act. So sometimes it may be that we cannot calculate the loss in terms of money, or money would not be sufficient to like provide justice to the person. So in such cases, injunction may be provided as a preventive relief, and in such cases what happens is that the person, the other party, court would direct him to do something or not to do something. So this is section 36 is only talking about preventive relief. How it would be given? It would be granted by way of injunction, and it is discretion of court only whether to grant injunction or not in any particular case. So there are 2 different types that were mentioned. temporary and perpetual injunction. So these two types are mentioned under section 37. Temporary injunctions are such as are to continue until specific time or until further order of the court, and they may be granted at any stage of the suit and regulated by Code of Civil Procedure. Perpetual injunction is, so in case of temporary injunction, what happens is that it would be, the provision is mentioned under Specific Relief Act also, but it would be basically regulated by the provisions of Code of Civil Procedure, Order 39, Rule 1 and 2, regarding granting of temporary injunction. So accordingly, it was said that whatever provision is mentioned under CPC Order 39, Rule 1 and 2, the same process would be applicable if court wants to provide a temporary injunction. What is temporary injunction? It would be given by some order of the court. Order of court means it may be at any stage of the case, when the case is pending or during the time of execution. What happens is that court would pass an order and ask the person to maybe do something or prevent him from doing something for a specified time. The court may say that until a decree is passed, you should stop your construction. Or the court may say that until like for the next 1 year, you should stop your construction. So it may be for a specified time. What happens is that court would pass this particular temporary injunction asking the person to prevent from doing something or to do something. So this is temporary injunction, and that would be governed by CPC. Whatever procedure is mentioned, same only would be applicable in this case. In case a perpetual injunction can only be granted by a decree made at the hearing and upon merits of the case, the defendant is thereby permanently enjoined. What happens is that from ascertaining his right or from commission of the act which would be contrary to the rights of plaintiff. In case of temporary injunction, it is when the case is still pending. It may be at any stage of the case. If court feels that if the person is allowed to continue doing something, it would be violating rights of the plaintiff. So court would pass an order. But in case of perpetual injunction, what happens is that it would be granted by a decree only. That means it would be a final injunction that would be applicable forever. So it would be granted by a decree only after hearing both the parties, after looking at the evidences, looking at the situation and everything. The court would decide, and accordingly by a decree, perpetual injunction would be granted when the court has already ascertained the rights and everything. So you can remember, for temporary injunction, it may be at any stage of the case, including execution, and it would be by an order of court. It is basically when case is pending, court wants to, like give some directions. But in case of perpetual injunction, it is like a permanent thing. So it would be granted only after hearing both the parties, only after seeing the case evidences and everything, it would be granted. So perpetual injunction is when rights are determined or based on merits of the case, and in the final decree only it would be passed, and similarly it would be applicable forever. If a person has been told that you cannot continue this particular construction, what happens is that that would be permanently applicable. For example, there is a park near my house. So what happens is, inside the park there was construction of a house. Some house was constructed and it is like almost done only. But what happens is that they have put wrote in that particular house that under permanent injunction dated this and that, the construction has been stopped by court. So now what happens is that no one can use that house, no one can do anything about that particular house. That means it is a perpetual injunction. Permanently, those persons were stopped from continuing with the construction or using this house or things like that, because they were not having rights to construct a house inside a park. So what happens is that it is perpetual injunction and temporary injunction under section 37. So 36 is talking about preventive relief, how it would be given. It would be given by way of injunction, which is a discretion of court. and it may be a temporary injunction or a perpetual injunction also. If it is temporary injunction, it would be given by way of some order, and it can be at any stage of the case, including execution, and CPC provisions would be applicable for it. In case of perpetual injunction, it would be by some decree only, after hearing the parties and finally deciding on the case only it would be granted. Is this part clear? 36 and 37?
Yeah.
Next is chapter 8. It is talking about perpetual injunctions. So when it can be granted and other things. It is section 38 that is talking about situations or cases when perpetual injunction can be granted. So subject to other provisions contained in or referred to in this chapter, a perpetual injunction may be granted to plaintiff to prevent what? Breach of an obligation existing in his favor, whether expressly or impliedly. So if there is any breach of obligation that is existing in favor of the plaintiff and he wants to ask for injunction, then perpetual injunction may be granted by the court at its discretion. And obligation would mean only legal obligation only. It cannot be like moral obligation a person is having. Someone is having a bakery, that does not mean that whoever is hungry in that particular area, he should feed those persons. So a beggar cannot go to the court saying that this person is having a big bakery shop, so whenever I am hungry and going there, he should provide me food. So that should not be a perpetual injunction that the court would grant. It should be always that there is breach of an obligation, and it is what? It is a legal obligation that the person is having. It may be under some act, it may be under some contract or other things that the person can validly claim. So first thing that we have is when there is a breach of an obligation on the part of defendant. It may be an express obligation or it may be an implied obligation. Maybe there is a contract between both the two persons. It is an express obligation. Maybe it is something which people should do. So it may come under torts also, that people should do this particular thing. They should not cause nuisance to others. So that is it is like implied obligation that the person is having. So in case there is breach of any obligation, perpetual injunction may be granted. This is the first condition that we have. Second is when such obligation arises from contract. For contract, we have already seen that there are other provisions, right? If a contract has been violated, then what happens is that we can ask for specific performance. So it says if there is any obligation arising from contract, then provisions of chapter 2 only should be applicable. The person can ask for specific performance of the contract. If any obligation has been violated by a person, he can go to the court and accordingly ask for performance of the part of that particular contract only, because that provision is already available under contract. Third is when the defendant invades or threatens to invade plaintiff's right to or enjoyment of property, the court may grant perpetual injunction in following cases. If, for example, one person is there who is owner of a property. So if A is owner of a property, that means he is having certain legal rights to enjoy the property. If there are any other persons who are denying that particular right or who wants to invade that particular right, then the plaintiff can go to the court asking for perpetual injunction. He can say that I am the owner of this property and these people are not allowing me to enjoy my property, so there should be a perpetual injunction that court would grant, and accordingly it will follow. So when the defendant invades or threatens to invade plaintiff's right over a certain property, then he can go to the court asking for this relief. So if A is owner of a property, he can go to the court and say that I am the owner, I have the legal rights to enjoy this property. So what happens is that you can pass an injunction order preventing them to continue doing such kind of acts. So in which all cases it would be granted? For example, the defendant is trustee of the property for the plaintiff. If A is owner of a property and what he has done is that someone else, he has appointed someone else. For example, he has appointed B and he said that you should look after this property and also you should look after all the people who are staying there because A stays somewhere else. In that case, if B denies the rights of A, so what A can do is that A can go to the court and file a case for injunction because A is the owner and B cannot invade him from his rights to enjoy this particular property. So first situation is when defendant is trustee of plaintiff's property. For example, A is owner of a property. He has given this particular duty to B that you should look after this property and you should maintain this property and all the things. But B starts denying the fact that A is owner and he is having certain rights to enjoy this property. So in that case, A can go to the court and file a case for perpetual injunction. Second is where there exists no standard for ascertaining the actual damage caused or likely to be caused by the invasion. So when it can be granted, for example, we cannot ascertain what is the amount of loss that a person may face because of these kind of actions. So in such cases, what happens is that when we cannot decide the amount of loss that a person may suffer or have suffered, in such cases also injunction may be granted to the person so that the person stops continuing such activities. For example, here B denies rights of A over that particular property. So we do not know, tomorrow B might just go and sell that particular properties to someone, or he may just start taking rent from all the people who are staying there and just keep it with him only. So we do not know to what extent the other person might go. So it may be necessary that perpetual injunction is granted in such cases so that the person cannot continue with his actions. Where invasion is such that compensation in money would not afford any adequate relief. So again, today compensation is provided, from tomorrow again that particular person may again stop, continue with his actions. He may again say that you are not the owner, I have a right over this property, or this is a public property, all of us can enjoy this property. So we do not know what may happen tomorrow. Even though compensation is provided today, that do not guarantee that the act would not continue from tomorrow. So in such cases also perpetual injunction may be granted. And fourthly, where injunction is necessary to prevent multiplicity of judicial proceedings. For example, A approached the court saying that B is not providing the money that he is earning to me. So in that case, court asks B that you should give the money to the other person. Tomorrow again the person goes asking for injunction. So sometimes what happens is that injunction may be necessary to prevent multiplicity of judicial proceedings, where the court feels that tomorrow the person might again come to the court if we do not provide an injunction order. So in such cases also court may provide perpetual injunction. For example, A is owner of a property. He was enjoying this property, but his neighbor started some business in the next land, and he started creating some noise, vibration, etc. A is not able to stay peacefully in his property. He goes to court complaining about the nuisance. Court gives him compensation. So tomorrow again the other person, he may again start creating those noise and everything. So tomorrow again A would come to court, again he would complain about the same, again court would provide him compensation. So there is no end in the number of times the person would go to court. So it may be better that court just gives an injunction, or injunction, perpetual injunction, that you should stop continuing this kind of activity. So in such cases, court may grant perpetual injunction. Perpetual injunction is like a permanent one which should be applicable forever. And also it would be passed by some decree only after deciding on the case, hearing both the sides and all of that. So these are the situations where perpetual injunction may be granted, where there is breach of obligation that exists in favor of the plaintiff. It may be a direct obligation, or it may be something that implies from actions or behavior. If it is something related to contract, then chapter 2 would be applicable. If one person is denying someone else's right, then perpetual injunction may be granted. There are 4 situations. Firstly, defendant is trustee of property of plaintiff. Plaintiff has given some rights or obligations to defendant, and defendant starts denying plaintiff's right over that property. No standard for ascertaining actual damage that is caused or that may be caused. We cannot decide how much amount of loss a person may suffer. So in such cases also, injunction may be granted. Where compensation is not enough, in such cases also injunction may be granted. And in some cases, there is a chance that if today compensation is provided, tomorrow again the person would come and file a case. Again we would provide compensation, again he might come. So it is better to provide an injunction, perpetual injunction, so that the other person is permanently stopped from continuing the activity that he was doing. So this is the situations where perpetual injunction can be granted by the court. So it is section 38. There are 3 different things. If it is contract, then chapter 2 would be applicable. Otherwise, for breach of obligation or when right is denied, then in such cases it may be granted. Again, it is explained in which all cases: when defendant is trustee, when like damages cannot be ascertained, when compensation is not enough, and when without injunction there is a chance that the person may again come to court and file another case. Just in order to prevent that, we can provide injunction, perpetual injunction in this matter. Is this part clear? 38.
Yes, ma'am.
38, any doubts?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So next is mandatory injunction. So there was a question that was asked, how many types of injunctions are there under Specific Relief Act? So there are 3 injunctions. One is mandatory injunction, and another 2 are like depending on till what time it would be applicable. It may be a temporary injunction, it may be a perpetual injunction. So there are 3 different types of injunctions that we have under Specific Relief Act. Mandatory injunction is under section 39. What is mandatory injunction? Mandatory as in this particular injunction is necessary, so only the court would provide. So what is mandatory injunction? When to prevent the breach of an obligation, it is necessary to compel the performance of certain acts which the court is capable of enforcing. The court may in its discretion grant the injunction to prevent the breach complained of and also to compel performance of the requisite acts. Again, for mandatory injunctions also, it is discretion of court. That court would decide depending on the case whether to grant mandatory injunction or not. What is mandatory injunction? It is something which is necessary. And it is necessary for what? It is necessary to compel performance. It is necessary that the defendant is asked to do something. Why? In order to prevent him from breach of an obligation. If injunction is not granted, then what happens is there is a chance that the person would violate rights of someone by a breach of his obligation. And this act that the person is asked to do, it should be something which the court is capable of enforcing. We saw, right, there are certain acts that the court cannot enforce. For example, a continuing duty. Court cannot go and see every time whether a person is performing or not that particular thing. So if it is something which the court is capable of enforcing, the court can enforce it then in such cases injunction may be granted. Why it is mandatory? Because this injunction is necessary to ensure that the person do not breach his obligation and he performs this particular act. So what court will do is that on its discretion, court would compel performance of such acts. Court would ask the person to perform that act so that he cannot breach his obligation and the other person also is able to enjoy his right. Take for example, this is an example. A wrongfully obtained some portion of B's land while constructing his wall. While the construction was in progress, B goes to court complaining about the same. So court may grant injunction to stop the construction and along with it to demolish the already constructed part. So if A has wrongfully obtained some portion of B's land and he constructed half of the wall, and what court says is that you stop continuing with the construction. So stopping construction is not sufficient, right? Even then what happens? Some part of the wall has already been constructed. So if that part is not demolished, then what happens is that it would be like A only is the owner of that particular portion of land also. So he wrongfully tried to obtain some part of B's land. So in this case, what happens is only injunction is not enough. Along with injunction, what court would do is that it is mandatory injunction. Under the injunction order only, court will also say that you should also perform this particular thing. Obviously, you should not continue with the construction, but also whatever has been constructed, whatever has been already constructed, that part also you should demolish. Why we need mandatory injunction? Because if this already constructed part is not demolished, then obviously we will not have right over that particular part of land, right? So it is what it is necessary in order to ensure that there is no breach of obligation. If B is owner of a land, A should not unnecessarily, like try to occupy that particular land. So what happens is that just in order to prevent any breach of obligation, court may grant a mandatory injunction. So in the injunction itself, court would also ask the person to perform some kind of an act. So in case of temporary injunction, it is like only for some time or only for a specified time that particular order would be applicable. That until a court, like a decision comes, you should not continue this act. Or for the next 1 month, you should not continue this act. In case of permanent injunction, it is like a perpetual injunction. It would be by a decree. It would be applicable forever. In case of mandatory injunction, performance of some act is necessary just in order to ensure there is no breach of obligation. So accordingly, court would ask for, like performance of that act. But that act also should be something which the court is capable of enforcing. Only that court would ask for it. So these are the three different types of injunctions that we have: temporary, perpetual, and mandatory injunction. The situations where injunction can be granted. And next is section 40. It talks about damages in lieu of or in addition to injunction. So it may be in exchange of injunction or along with injunction. What happens is damages are granted. It is section 40, damages in lieu of or in addition to injunction. Again, it is also discretion of court only. Court would decide accordingly. So firstly, a plaintiff in a suit for perpetual injunction under section 38 or mandatory injunction under section 39 may claim damages either in addition or in substitution for such injunction that the court may, if it thinks fit, award for such damages. So if, for example, a person wants to file a case in court, he wants to file a case for injunction. File a case for injunction and ask the court that you should ask this particular person from stopping, like doing this particular kind of behavior. So what A might do is that A can file a case for injunction and ask the court to pass an injunction. Maybe it is a perpetual injunction or a mandatory injunction, that this person should not continue with this kind of behavior. For example, A has a recording studio. A has a recording studio, and what happens is that B started some factory in that residential area, which was creating, like very much noise, vibration, and all of that. So B was anyways not allowed to start a factory in a residential area. Because of that, what happened is that because of those noise and all, A could not record, or he could not continue with his business. A stopped his business for 2 months. Because of all the disturbance, he had to stop his business for 2 months. So what he does is that he goes to court and says that there should be an injunction order. B should be asked to stop this particular factory in a residential area permanently. And also, because I have suffered loss for these 2 months, he should also pay me compensation of 80,000 rupees. So in this case, what happens is that damages are also asked for. So the person is saying that you should also pay damages along with an order for injunction, so that I also get adequate relief in this particular matter. So in this case, what happens is that in addition to injunction, the person is asking for damages. Sometimes what happens is that a person files a case for A files a case for nuisance against B. But what happens is that he knows that maybe it may not be possible for court to grant an injunction order. So what he says is that you can provide injunction or damages. What he says is that you can provide an order for injunction or provide the damages. Like alternatively, whatever you can provide, you can do accordingly. So it is damages in lieu of injunction. If injunction can be provided, well and good. If not, then you can provide me damages for the loss that I have suffered. So this is the first thing that they have mentioned under Article 4, section 40, that there can be a situation where a person is filing a case for perpetual injunction or mandatory injunction, and in that particular case only he can ask for damages also, in addition to injunction or in lieu of injunction, depending on the case. No relief for damages shall be granted under this section until and unless the plaintiff has claimed for. So this provision we have already seen in other sections also, that whenever damages are provided, it should be that the plaintiff has expressly claimed for it. If not, court may also allow him to make changes in his plaint at any stage of the proceeding, including execution, and the person can ask for damages and court would provide accordingly. Next is the dismissal of a suit to prevent breach of an obligation existing in favor of plaintiff shall bar his right to sue for damages under this. So if a person files a case that there is breach of an obligation from the other person, and court feels that this is not even a a proper cause of action, court just dismisses that particular case. So that dismissal would be what? That dismissal would act as a bar for that person to file another case for damages, because if court feels that there is no breach of obligation, obviously there would be no question of providing damages. So in case under any court a suit has been dismissed regarding breach of obligation, that dismissal of suit would apply like a bar that would prevent the person from filing another case asking for damages, because if there are no breach of obligation, the person would not be entitled to get any kind of damages. Is this part clear till here? Yes, ma'am. And because this is like specific relief act, right? It is talking about specific relief only. So wherever we get provisions regarding damages, damages has to be specifically claimed by the plaintiff only. So same provision also applies for section 4. Next is section 41. It says injunction when refused. In which all cases, a case for like injunction can be refused by court. So there are 11 grounds mentioned under section 41 based on which court may refuse to provide injunction. What all these grounds? Restrain judicial proceeding, restrain instituting proceeding in subordinate court, restrain to apply to legislative body, restraint to apply to legislative body, restraint in certain. So these are like 11 grounds that we have in different clauses: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, H, A, I, and Z. These are 11 grounds based on which court may refuse to provide injunction. When court will refuse to provide, injunction cannot be granted. In which all cases? Firstly, to restrain any person from prosecuting judicial proceedings pending at the institution of the suit in which injunction is sought, unless such restraint is necessary to prevent multiplicity of proceedings. So no injunction will be granted to prevent any judicial proceeding, but there is a condition. If that restraint is in order to prevent multiplicity of proceeding, then it may be entertained. Otherwise, what happens is that injunction would not be granted in order to prevent a person from proceeding with any judicial proceedings. For example, A files a case and decree is passed in his favor. When A wanted to execute that particular decree, B goes to court and asks for injunction that court should ask A to stop from executing that particular decree. So in that case, what happens is that B do not have a right to file a case because he is trying to prevent a person from prosecuting a judicial proceeding that is pending. So the decree was in favor of A. If he wants to execute that particular decree, B cannot get get an injunction or like injunction that A should not go and execute that particular decree. Why? Because it would be hampering the judicial process. So in such cases, injunction will not be granted by court. So first is restrain any person from prosecuting a judicial proceeding which is pending at institution of the suit in which injunction is sought. Second is to restrain any person from instituting or prosecuting any proceeding in any court subordinate to that from where injunction is sought. Now, for some cases, what happens? For one single matter only, there may be different courts where we can approach. For example, there are courts like Madras, West Bengal, and Bombay High Courts. They are having original jurisdiction for all the like civil matters, also for other criminal matters also they are having original jurisdiction. So in case there is a property dispute also, a person can directly go to Bombay High Court and file a case. He do not need to go to like subordinate courts and then finally go to High Court for appeal. So in such cases, what happens is that a person cannot get an injunction order from High Court of Bombay that for this particular dispute, the other party should not go to subordinate court and file a case. Why such injunction would not be granted? Because the person is free to go to whatever court he wants, right? He can go to civil courts also filing for the case. He can even directly go to the High Court also asking for his relief. So in such cases, the person cannot obtain an injunction that would restrict the other person from approaching any subordinate court, because the person is having a right that he can go to any court to file a case. So it is restrain any person from instituting or prosecuting any proceeding in a court not subordinate to that from where injunction has been sought. So like that, an injunction order cannot be passed there. For this particular matter, you can only go to a High Court of Bombay only, not to the subordinate courts. If the person is having a right, then what happens is that it depends on him where he wants to go and where he wants to file the case. Third is to restrain any person from applying to any legislative body. Now, legislative body as in there are various bodies, there are various commissions, tribunals, etc. established under different acts, right? For example, there is municipal commissioner that can take a decision, pass an order regarding any violation of municipal commission orders. There is controller that may take a decision regarding land dispute. There is revenue records that for revenue records, revenue office can take a decision. For election related, like disputes, election commission can take a decision. NGT can take decision regarding environment related matters. National Human Rights Commission can take decision regarding human rights violation. So like that, there are different other bodies also, right? Legislative bodies. For example, regarding, removal of any Supreme Court judge or High Court judge, it can be the two houses of parliament also. So like that, there cannot be an injunction order that would restrict a person from applying to any legislative body. So if one person knows that this person may go to NGT and file a case, he cannot get an injunction order that this person would be stopped from approaching this particular legislative body. So again, this is also similar to courts only, like how we cannot restrict a person from going to a court. Similarly to these bodies also, we cannot restrict a person by way of an injunction under any court. Next is to restrain a person from instituting or prosecuting any proceeding in criminal matter. What happens is that we cannot restrict a person. If a person is having a right that he can either go to civil court or he can even file a case under criminal law, we cannot restrict him that you should not file a case under criminal law, you should only file a case under civil law. Why we cannot do that? Because it depends on the person. For example, in case of defamation, in case of nuisance or any other matter, what happens is that we cannot ask that particular person that you should not file a case under criminal law, you should only approach the civil law only. So we cannot do that, and we cannot obtain an injunction for those kind of matters. If for example there is any agreement where there is a clause that if there are any violations in this particular agreement, we would only approach only a civil suit would be there, or we will try to solve the matter between us only. We may either go to the court filing a case for arbitration, or we would try to solve the matter within ourselves only. But later on what happens is that one of the parties, he violates the contract and there is criminal breach of trust. So the other person wants to file a criminal matter under IPC, but defendant says that you cannot go to the court because there is a clause under this particular contract that we will solve the matter within us only, or at max we can file an arbitration case. So in such cases also the person cannot be restricted, because there cannot be a contract that would stop a person from filing a case that he can rightfully file. So in such cases also there cannot be an injunction passed by court. Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Next is to prevent the breach of contract, the performance of which would not be specifically enforced. So to prevent the breach of contract, also there cannot be an injunction for which specifically performance is not possible. If there is a contract way of which specific performance itself is not possible, for that also we cannot obtain an injunction that prevent this person from breaching this contract, that he has to fulfill whatever he promised under the contract. Why we cannot do that? Because the contract is not even specifically enforced, as we saw under section 14, that substituted performance of contract has been obtained. It is a continuous duty. Personal qualifications are involved. or contract of determinable nature. So in such cases, because the contract itself cannot be specifically enforced, what happens is that we cannot also obtain an injunction for preventing the person from violating the contractual obligations. Next is to prevent on the ground of nuisance an act which is not reasonably clear that it will be nuisance or not. There may be a certain case where it is difficult to say whether it's a nuisance or it's not. In such cases also, there should not be an injunction order. For example, there are two neighbors. One is playing loud music at night. It is a clear case of nuisance. Court can pass an injunction order stopping that person from playing loud music at night. But what happens in sometimes it is not very clear whether it is nuisance or not. In such cases, if it is not clear, court should not pass an injunction order. For example, A bought a house just next to main road. So why he bought a house just next to main road? He thought that everything would be accessible and everything would be nearby only. So he bought the house. But later on, he realized that it's not easy to, like sleep or stay peacefully in the house because there would be heavy traffic every time. People would be moving, people would be speaking, people would be coming. So it is causing nuisance. The person cannot go to the court, file a case for injunction because of one person, court cannot pass an order that this road should be closed or this road should not be used by anyone, because it is very clear only that if it is a near main road, obviously there would be traffic, there would be pollution, there would be all the other things. So it is not very clear whether it is nuisance or not, because for A it is nuisance, but for others also, they also have a right to use that particular road. They also have a right to go to places they want to. So it is not very clear whether it would be a nuisance or whether the right that other persons are having is more superior. So in such cases, injunction would not be granted by the court. Next is to prevent continuing breach, in which the plaintiff has if there is something which is like continuing breach, some rights have been violated of a person, but it is continuing breach every time it is happening, but plaintiff has not objected to it. In such cases also, injunction cannot be granted. For example, one person is having a plot of land and there are two different gates in that plot. If someone uses those two gates, then they can reach the railway station very in less time. So everyone started using his plot of land using those two gates, and it became like a walkway. So plaintiff was not objecting to it, and people started using his plot of land to go to the nearby railway station. After some time, what happened is that government passed an order that they would be widening some roads in that particular area, and also land of that plaintiff's land was also mentioned, that they would be taking some public property also, and they would pay compensation accordingly. What plaintiff did is that plaintiff did not object that this is not a walkway, this is my property only, I should get compensation or anything like that. He just was there silently observing the things. After that, the road was also constructed, people started using it like a proper road only. After 4 years, he goes to court asking for injunction that people should stop using this road because this is not a road, this is my land only. Also, I have not got compensation from government when government constructed this particular road. So what court would say is that you had a right, but there was continuing breach and you have not objected to it, so there cannot be an injunction order now. But if he is able to prove everything, maybe he can get compensation or he can get other damages based on the court's order. But there cannot be an injunction passed with it because the thing has already happened. He was already there, he was not protesting, he was not complaining to it, and after many years he has come complaining about this particular matter. So in such cases also, injunction would not be granted by court. Next is when some other, like equally relevant or equally important rights are also available to the person, then in such cases also injunction may not be granted. For example, a person has a right to claim for damages, or claim for, like specific performance of contract or something like that. In such cases also injunction may not be granted by the court. For example, A bought a TV from B, and there was a condition that if there are any defects in the TV, what happens is that within 1 month I can return the TV and get 100% refund. After 1 week only, the TV stopped working. What he did is that he cannot go to the court and ask for injunction that we should stop his business. Why? Because there was already some other relief available. He can just say that you can, like I want to return the TV and get 100% refund. So if there is already some other relief is available, then also the person should not go to the court asking for injunction order. Next is what we saw in last class, like infrastructure project, right? Under the schedule of this particular act, whatever is mentioned regarding that also, injunction should not be like granted. That we already saw in section 20 clause A. That if it is some kind of infrastructure project regarding transport, energy, water and sanitation, communication, social and commercial infrastructure, in such cases also injunction would not be provided, because it would be causing unnecessary delay in completion of that particular project. Next is condition of plaintiff or his agents has been such as to disentitle him regarding assistance of the court. If the plaintiff who is going to court and asking for injunction, if the plaintiff only was not proper in his actions, then in such cases also court may not grant injunction. For example, what happens is that a person booked a computer by paying 30,000 rupees, and he said, I will pay the remaining 40,000 rupees within a week and buy the laptop from you. So this amount was given to the person just to keep the laptop for 1 week. After that, what happened is that the person was not paying the remaining amount. He was not informing also the other person or anything. So the other person finally what he did is that he just sent a notice that if you do not clear the payment within this time frame, I will sell it to someone else. So in that case, what happens is that A cannot go to the court asking for an injunction that we should not sell this laptop to anyone. Why? Because plaintiff is only guilty here, right? Plaintiff himself is not paying this remaining amount of 40,000. So he cannot go to the court asking for an injunction, because the other person is already ready to perform his contract. If he clears this payment, he can take the laptop. So he should not go to the court asking for injunction in this case. And last is when plaintiff has no personal interest in the matter. So that means if we are not involved in the matter, if we are not suffering from that, we cannot just go to the court and file a case for every single matter asking for injunction. If we have seen that someone is, like not following the guidelines that they should follow regarding construction, they are not following the guidelines regarding a factory or something, we cannot just randomly go and file cases complaining about those matters. We should be, like involved in the matter. Our personal interest should be violated. Then only we can go to the court and file a case for injunction. Is this part clear? 41.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are the 11 grounds based on which injunction, injunction will be refused, because there is presence of any of these grounds or these matters. So next is injunction to perform negative agreement. So take for example, there is one agreement where one part is like an affirmative agreement. One part is asking the person to do something, or it is his benefit. And it also contains a negative agreement. Another part is there which is asking the person not to do something. So if there is any agreement where it is a combination of both affirmative agreement and negative agreement, So injunction to perform negative agreement. Injunction can be granted only for performance of this negative agreement if this cannot be performed. So there is an agreement that involves both positive or negative like conditions. Positive conditions are also there, some negative conditions are also there. But what happens is affirmative agreement or the affirmative part cannot be performed. Because of this situation or circumstances, the court is unable to compel specific performance of affirmative agreement. Maybe it involves some like continuing duty, maybe it involves something that is related to personal qualification or something. Court cannot enforce it. So that does not restrict the court from granting an injunction for performance of negative agreement. Even though court cannot enforce this particular affirmative part, that does not restrict the court from enforcing this particular part. If plaintiff is not guilty of performing his part of contract, if the person who is approaching the court, he is playing his part of contract and the other person is not doing, then he can ask for performance of this negative part also. For this also there can be an injunction, that injunction to perform negative agreement, whatever part is there, for that also the person can ask for an injunction. So it is whether, so same only, that if there is an affirmative agreement coupled with a negative agreement, it may be express or implied. This negative part may be expressly mentioned in the contract or it may not be expressly mentioned in the contract. In such cases, what happens is that the person can ask for only performance of the negative part only, and accordingly for that the court can grant an injunction. So if there is mixture of both affirmative agreement and negative agreement, court can grant perform injunction for this negative agreement. If positive part cannot be performed, that would not restrict the court from granting an injunction order to perform this part.
Ma'am, why would the court grant permission to do something that's negative?
Why the court
Will allow the party to do something that's negative, like why?
Okay. Negative as in it's not like illegal. Negative means, for example, a person enters, okay, A enters into an agreement with someone. He says that I will sing in your, party for, like for example, for 2 days. A makes an agreement that I will sing in your party for 2 days, and during which what happens is that for these 2 days I will not make any other contracts with anyone else. Basically for these 2 days A will not sing anywhere else. So here what happens, he will sing in this party for 2 days. This is like positive part, that he will do something. Negative agreement is this, that he will not sing anywhere else. But after that what happens is that A got some other offer where he would be paid more for singing for these 2 days. So last moment he cannot just go and cancel it. So what the other person can do is that he can go to court and get an injunction order that if you are not singing in my party, you should also, perform this part of contract. You cannot sing anywhere else also. Because this is like involving personal qualification, right? A person cannot be compelled that you should sing only. But what court can do, that you should not take benefit by putting someone else in loss, right? So if you are not singing in his party, then you should not take other contracts also, because this was a part of the agreement only. So if I cannot ask you to perform this positive part, but I can even, order you to perform this negative part, because the other party should not suffer because of you.
Okay, ma'am.
So any other doubts on any section? This was the last part that we had.
No doubts, ma'am.
So there are few questions. Yeah, from question number 19.
Either A.
When instrument may be ratified. Parties representative, the plaintiff may sue for legal right arising under the claim pleading. So it would be all the cases only the parties may ask for ratification.
Okay.
Yeah. Option D. Next one.
Any person interested in a contract may sue to have it rescinded and such. All.
Yeah, it is also above all. Section is 20, 27. Above.
$31. Void or voidable.
Yeah, again, same 31 only. Void or voidable. Option B.
34.
Yeah, 34.
B. Directory.
Granting, uh, granting a relief of declaration. Again, all the discretionary only. It would depend on the court whether court would provide or not.
Yeah. 34 is declaration.
This declaration is
37 is temporary and perpetual. A.
yeah, plaintiff and bridge. It is section 30.
Right to enjoyment.
Right to enjoyment again 30.
All the above.
Yeah, all the above 38.
39. Discretionary.
Yeah, discretionary.
Yes.
Yeah.
May claim damage.
So in all the situations wherever we saw, he can claim damages, but it should be like he should claim only, then only court would provide.
All the above.
Yeah, in all the cases only court may provide all the above.
Is mandatory. No, it's prohibit.
Yeah, it's prohibitory.
When equally efficacious relief can certainly be obtained by any other usual mode of shall not.
Cannot. Like that is
Okay.
the like same only, but that option is like that is what is given in the act. So you can select cannot.
Recovery of specific immovable property. 5.
Yeah, section 5.
Section 14 of the Act. A.
Contract not specifically enforceable.
Any person does without his consent. Yeah, he can.
Yeah, yes, he can.
Section 22 of the Act. A.
Yeah, a power to grant relief for possession.
When cancellation may be ordered. A.
When cancellation may be ordered.
The next one's 3.
Yeah, there are 3 types of injunctions. Yeah, so these were all the questions that we had. So basically from sections, questions are there. And also,
Yeah.
is this part clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Fine then. So I will share this document with you if you want. So you can see the questions and all from here.
Okay.
Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.